Guys, welcome to my channel. In this video I will discuss about the default VPC components. So in every AWS account, Amazon provides us with a default VPC and some other components in that VPC in every region in the account. So what are the components that are provided? Let us see. So first is the VPC with size /16 and CIDR block of 172.31.0.0/16. So in every region you will see a default VPC with this CIDR block, which provides us with 65,536 private IPv4 addresses. And then the second thing is we get subnets with size 20 in each availability zone in the region. But with this CIDR block, we get 4096 addresses per subnet, in which 5 addresses are reserved by AWS, first 4 and the last IP. So we get 4091 IP addresses for our use. Third is we get an internet gateway connected to the VPC, and then a route table connected with the default VPC with route to internet and associated with all the subnets. Then we get a default security group associated with default VPC and default network ACLs or NACLs associated with default VPC. And then we also get default DHCP options set for your AWS account for your default VPC. So what is the DHCP options? It is a dynamic host control protocol, and we can understand it like with every device in the TCP IP network, an IP address is required to communicate over the internet and to communicate with each other devices. So DHCP servers, there are DHCP servers which manage these assignment of IP addresses. For example, you have an EC2 instance, you create an EC2 instance. So DHCP servers will use this dynamic host control configuration protocol, and through DHCP we get an IP address with our EC2 instance, so we do not need to manage it manually. We can I will get into the details of DHCP in a separate video. So this is a high level diagram of what all things we get with our default VPC. So for example, in this diagram we are in region EUS to London region. So inside the region we get a default VPC with this CIDR block 172.31.0.0/16. And in this region EUS2 we have 3 availability zones. So in each availability zone we get a default subnet. So in this example we have these 3 subnets in 3 availability zones with these CIDR blocks, and we also get an internet gateway in this VPC and a default route table which routes to the internet through this internet gateway. So let us see these components on the AWS console. So I'm in my AWS console. Let us go to the VPC. So I'm in London region currently, and let us see what all things we get by default with the VPC. So first is we get a VPC with this CIDR block 172.31.0.0/16. We have this VPC available to us. So VPC with size 172.31.0.0/16. This is available to us. Then the second point was subnets in each availability zone. So let us see. So here we have 3 subnets available by default with these IPv4 CIDRs, and the available IP addresses are 4091 in each subnet as we discussed. So we can see these are in 3 availability zones. So these 3 subnets are created by default. And then we have internet gateway connected to the VPC. Then third, we can see we have this internet gateway available to us with our default VPC, and this internet gateway is attached to our VPC. And then a route table connected with default VPC with route to the internet and associated with all the subnets. So now if we see route tables, we have a default route table, a main route table. Here main is yes, means that this is the route table which is the main route table and attached to our VPC, default VPC. And if we see the routes here, this route table has route to the local, route to internet through internet gateway, and a route to the local network with this VPC CIDR block. And if we see the subnet associations, this route table associated with all the 3 default subnets. So these 3 subnets are able to connect to the internet. Any resources that we will create like EC2 instance in these subnets would be able to connect to the internet, because in this route table we have this route to the internet through internet gateway. And then default security group associated with default VPC. So we can see we have a security group also, default security group with this VPC, which we can use with our EC2 instances and other resources. And in default security group, everything is allowed. All traffic is allowed. Inbound and outbound traffic, all traffic is allowed in default security group. And similarly, we get a default NACL associated with the default VPC. So in network ACLs, we can see there is a network ACL created for us by AWS, and it is associated with the 3 subnets. So if we see the subnet associations, this NACL is associated with all the subnets in this VPC, and all traffic is allowed in inbound and outbound rules in this NACL. And we have a default DHCP option set for our account. So we can see there is a default DHCP option set which we get with our default VPC. So this was about the default VPC components. Now there is a question, what is the use of default VPC? So default VPC is suitable for getting started quickly and for launching public instances, such as you want to launch a simple website or a blog. Then you have this default VPC components available. You can modify the components of your default VPC as per your needs, and you can also attach additional subnets with your default VPC. So for example, you are using this default VPC with all the default settings that we discussed. You can also create additional subnets in your default VPC if required. So I think this was all about the default VPC components that we discussed. In the upcoming videos, I will discuss some more details about NACLs and security groups and DHCP options set. So if you like this video, please leave your comments for any feedback or suggestions. And also, if you have not already subscribed, so please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.